So let me get this straight. You had to leave the villa and see clips and narratives being spun for you to decide, oh yeah, they did bully me, girl, bye. But do you see how quickly you made that post after the reunion about not wanting to speak on your relationship? You see how you did that? That is the urgency that you should have had when making a post towards your out of control fans. Let's talk about it.
Roxiie says we're gonna
Wait, hold on. And another thing, my review is late and you still have not made a post denouncing the racism, which proves that you were never planning on doing so. Now, let's talk about it.
Roxiie says we're gonna talk about it.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxiie with Roxiie Says, and we're going to talk about it. Today, we are reviewing Love Island USA, the reunion, child. So much went down, and clearly so much was left out. So we're going to get into all of it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you are made aware every time I upload. All right, so let's get into it. So we open up with everyone arriving to the reunion looking bomb for the most part. But my favorite looks were definitely Clark and Alandria. And as some of you know, this is my very first Love Island reunion, so I didn't know what to expect, but I was excited because Andy is there and I'm very familiar with him from the Housewives franchises, so I was ready for him to get down to business. But child, this reunion did not need to be 2 hours long. I know y'all filmed for 72 hours, but this reunion, what we saw, we didn't need all of this. There were so many conversations on this reunion that honestly, we did not need to see because we don't care. And y'all know we don't care. Y'all know what we wanted to talk about during this reunion. And apparently, according to the cast, a lot of things were discussed that were not shown to us. But anyway, we start off with the final four on stage. So we got Nick Alandria, Amaya, who I saw unfollowed each other like right after the reunion. We also have Pepe and Iris, who I saw that he allegedly cheated on Iris and they are no longer following each other. Whoa, big surprise there. But when you hear how some of these cast members discuss being exclusive versus dating versus being boyfriend and girlfriend, it's like, what's cheating? Are y'all even really together? Anyway, because right now it's just giving that y'all are staying connected for the brand deals, but not for a real relationship, but we'll get to it, okay? And lastly on stage, we have Huda and Chris sitting separately because he was probably afraid that she would give him some type of cuddle countdown, so he stayed far away, all right? By the way, why didn't we see a conversation about that? Anyway, so everyone pretty much agrees that after they left the villa, everything is great and their friendships have been growing. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, clearly everyone is going to have to warm up before they start being honest, because what I was seeing on social media, everything is not all good between y'all. But we do learn that after the villa, the entire cast stayed at an Airbnb together for about a week where they got to know each other more without the cameras. So after they give us a recap of how the final four came to be, we start off with Amaya and Bryan, and they say that things have been going well. And even though they're long distance, it's only a 35-minute flight and a 3-hour drive from Boston to New York. Bryan says that his mom loves Amaya and they even cried together. And Andy is like, oh my God, that's so cute or whatever, but let's get to the mess. Let's get to the mess. So they ask about a video that surfaced of Bryan allegedly cheating and partying with other girls. Bryan says that the people just want to throw hate on his name. And as far as the cheating situation, he says that he had a lapse in judgment, but they spoke about it. So yeah, that's what he said. We spoke about it. So yeah. So of course, Andy asks him to elaborate on the cheating. And Bryan says that his lapse of judgment was him pouring shots. And I'm like, well, then if that's all you did, you should have just said I was pouring shots, because baby, a lapse in judgment sounds way worse than that, okay? But Amaya says that she would never be with someone who disrespects her, and she's very confident in her relationship, and the entire time she was just laughing through everything. Child, Amaya don't care because they know that they're not together for real like that. That's very apparent, okay? So we learned that Iris and Pepe are now exclusive, but they're not dating. Y'all aren't doing either now because y'all ain't even following each other, right? But y'all be making up all of these extra steps like when I was watching the reunion, I promise you, I messaged the girls in the group chat and I was like, maybe because it's my first season, break it down to me, because these people are using these terms and it seemed like it means a bunch of nothing, okay? I guess that's just Love Island math, child. But Pepe says that he sees exclusive meaning boyfriend and girlfriend, and Iris says that they need to date more before being boyfriend and girlfriend, and that's just their reasoning. And when Ariana asks Iris if she wants to be boyfriend and girlfriend with Pepe, she turns and looks at Pepe, and I said, no girl, Ariana's asking you. She's asking you this question. But she eventually does say yes when she gets through all of the stuttering and stammering. So yeah, we then learned that TMZ snapped some photos of Iris meeting up with TJ after the show, and Iris says that she just wanted to have a conversation with him to clear the air. And Pepe says that he also had a conversation with Hannah, who's backstage at the moment, where he just wanted to make sure that she was okay, because at the end of the day, this experience was crazy for all of them. Anyway, we see Andy. He's asking Huda and Chris about their awkward final date. And child, when Andy asks them how is it seeing each other for the first time, Huda was like, it's fine. I feel fine. Like, it's fine. Chris was like, weird. It's weird. It's weird. She's like, well, it's weird. I feel fine. That's all that matters. So Andy then asks Chris how his mom feels. And Chris was like, I'll just leave it at her being happy with the way things turned out. I told y'all that Chris's mama and sister did not like that damn girl. They just kept it cute so that he could possibly win the money, like I'm sure everyone else's family was doing during that family day, okay? But Huda says, look, Chris and I, we just weren't a good match. Clearly, she wants to leave it at that and not go into further detail. And between Chris's confused face and them laughing backstage, baby, I was cracking up because everyone could already see what Huda was trying to do. So Chris made it very clear that he doesn't respect what Huda has been saying about him in interviews since the show. And he also says that he could not be her friend moving forward. He doesn't like the way that she moves, and she only reached out to him 3 days prior to the reunion. So he already knew why she was reaching out, most likely to put out like a temperature check to see how they would speak about each other at the reunion. Same thing that we see everyone on Love is Blind do when they know a reunion is approaching and they showed their ass all season. Okay, ain't nothing new. But she does say that she reached out to him because she saw all of the hate that he was getting. But you didn't see the hate that Alandria was getting. Hold on a second. You saw Chris hate, but you didn't see Alandria hate? Girl, how? I don't even be on the tickety talk like that, and I saw the Alandria hate. How? Make it make sense. You such a damn liar. But we gonna get to it. So Chris says that he can forgive her, but they could never be friends. And who can be mad at him for that? So next we see the hosts ask Huda about her current relationship. And she's with a guy named Louis from Perfect Match. He's in the Netflix universe. And she says that she can't talk about it for legal reasons. And baby, the way both Andy and Ariana looked at her like, girl, what? Like, girl, you ain't signed to no Netflix. What is you talking about? And after the reunion, Huda came out with a post and she said that she didn't feel comfortable talking about her relationship and they pressured her to talk about it. And I was like, look at how quickly she made that post addressing something that she actually cared about. Wowza. But baby, Netflix wasn't playing with Huda either because they responded and they said, don't add us. They don't know what the hell Huda is talking about. So now we move on to Nick Alandria, and I'm definitely happy to see Alandria looking way more comfortable with Nick. I will give them that. I like that they're coordinated. I see their cute vacation pics, and it looks like they've been having a great time and getting to the money. Okay, I've been getting to the money. Everybody mad. Yeah, I'm happy. I love all of that, okay? But when they said that they still weren't in an exclusive relationship, I was like, Okay. They say that they want to take their time and not let others dictate the speed at which they should put a label on it. And I was like, oh, they talking to me. I said, oh, y'all talking to me? They might be talking to Nick Alandria because I know that y'all wanted them to be married and pregnant right now. They even said that themselves. So they're not talking to me. They're talking to y'all. And Alandria says to the people who don't believe in Nick Alandria, she said those people are haters. I said, Alandria, don't get like the Huda stands where if someone don't see it for y'all 100%, that means that they're a hater. That means that it's hate. Okay, don't do that. I'm not team Nick Alandria. I'm team Money Landria. Okay, because when it comes to my girl Alandria getting to the bag, I'm here for it. When it comes to Alandria's beauty being posted all over and praised, baby, I am here for it. I do like how Nick and Alandria had each other's back at the reunion. Here for that. Love that energy. So when it comes to that, like I said, yeah, I'm team Money Landria, but do I see Nick and Alandria being together forever? And I don't see all of that. My opinions from my finale review have not changed on Nick Alandria, okay? And baby, this is the reunion review. I'm not about to get down and argue with anyone in the comments over shit. Over no Nick Alandria, over nobody. The season is over, okay? It's done. It's finito, all right? So moving on, when they ask Alandria if Nick was worth the wait, Nick interjects and he says, they don't call me Big Belgium for nothing. That made me laugh. I thought it was cute. And speaking of cute, Nick's little beard, Keep that, Nikki. Keep that. Either way, Alandria is winning, getting to the money. She looks happy. She's enjoying her time. She's making the most out of it, and I love that for her. All right, so next we learn that Nick hasn't spoken to Sierra since he left, and he says that he doesn't plan to, and I was like, ouch. Y'all were closed off. Y'all was hunching in a room full of people every damn night. I would think that they would have a conversation, even just for closure, but I can also understand Nick saying, I'm gonna stay far away from her because she ain't about to mess up what I got going on. Okay, I got this money coming in. This relationship that I have with Alandria is a great look. I don't even need to speak to her. I totally understand that too, okay? But Nick says that the reason why he hasn't reached out to her was because of videos that she posted on TikTok with shady captions regarding Nick and Alandria ending up together. And I know Sierra was watching this from home, pulling her hair out like, damn, that was supposed to be me. I was supposed to be on that stage. Oh well, girl. So next we see Taylor, Clark, and Shelley come out, and Andy asks Ace and Shelley about the exclusive curse, because we know once they got exclusive, they were dumped from the island. So Ace says that he feels like people were voting based on individual favorites as opposed to love. And we see Austin and Jeremiah, they're backstage, and Austin is like, yeah, because that's the system that you designed, Ace. And we cannot forget that Ace definitely was not focused on love primarily, especially in the beginning. We all saw that he was way more focused on strategy, okay? And that's what tore his ass up in this game, all right? And we'll see later in the episode when both Shelley and Ace are explaining their reasoning for certain votes, you can see Ace's influence on Shelley as well. I just don't see how Ace thinks, because this was my main issue with Ace. I don't see how he thinks that he gets to decide what's an adequate amount of time that someone should explore with someone, or that someone should like someone, or choose someone else to date with, right? That's not for you to decide. And we saw how him putting those ideas out there got someone sent home, all right? So apparently Clark and Taylor have been doing well. She's been to Oklahoma a couple of times. She's met his family. She's ridden a couple horses, no saddle, all right? I guess that's a big deal. She said no saddle. I was like, okay, girl. All right. I see you. Y'all know I love me some Clark. So, of course, we get to the whole situation with Clark and Alandria and Taylor. And Taylor still claims that even up to the very end, he was still so torn between Clark and Alandria. Taylor, you are a motherfucking lie. We don't believe that for 1 second. We all saw how different your energy was with Clark versus your energy with Alandria. And I 100% agree with Alandria saying that she didn't want to be with someone who she had to later find out wasn't attracted to her physically, and said that they would grow to be attracted to her. Like, who would want that? I can only imagine how hurt Alandria was when she watched that footage back, right? So she says that she hated that we saw her chasing a man who wasn't interested in her, because that wasn't the actual experience that she had. And we can see what production did during this season to make Alandria and Shelley look one way and to make Huda look a different way. Let's talk about it, right? So she thought that the reason why he was moving slowly was because he was just respecting her boundaries. She never thought that it was due to a lack of physical attraction. But we do see that neither Taylor or Nick have any hard feelings to each other regarding Alandria. Nick and Taylor are still best friends, and Nick says that he's even visited his home in Oklahoma. So all seems to be well on that end. So Ariana has to ask Taylor if he would like to apologize to Alandria. You would think, right, that the month that's passed, him watching the show back, Taylor would have already reached out to her and apologized on his own, even if he wanted to apologize again at the reunion. Did he do that? No, I guess that would have been too mature for him. And we know that Taylor likes to feel like a kid all the time, right? Clark, I wish that you paired up with someone else, because I think you would have won. Because Taylor, you pissing me off all over again. And baby, the apology was utter trash. I honestly don't think that Taylor thinks that he owes Alandria an apology. I don't think that Taylor feels like he did anything wrong. His apology wasn't specific. He didn't say what he did, which was waste her time, which was lead her on, which was breadcrumb her. He didn't acknowledge any of that specifically. He just said, I'm sorry for everything, and you still my dog. Like he was talking to his homeboy. And even Alandria's facial expression after that, she was just like, and Ace was like, okay, should we clap for that? Like, because it was trash. Okay, bye, Taylor. So next, Andy tries to sort out the whole Ace and Shelley situation of them possibly knowing each other before the show. And apparently Ace has been liking her pictures on Instagram since 2022, but they soon realized that that doesn't mean that he knew her in 2022. Geniuses. That means that he just scrolled back and was liking her pictures. And ain't nobody ever scrolled back on you and liked a bunch of your pictures. Come on now. Because Shelley says that they met in 2023, not 2022. But pretty much they say that, look, they met outside the club, they chat on Instagram, they would like each other's pictures, but that was the extent of it. So Shelley and Ace are still exclusive, but he says that he's planning something really special for when they become official. And he says that Shelley will be his first and last girlfriend, and he's in love with her. And I said, well, this Love Island math, y'all need to explain how you in love with somebody, but y'all not even boyfriend and girl. Like, maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. Y'all know I'm 79 years old. I do things a bit differently. We did things differently back in our day. But like I said, Love Island math. Okay, so next we see the Casa people. They come out. We also got Andreina and TJ. They were bombshells. We got Austin, and Kzak is doing a video call in, all right? So they touch on an interview that Coco did where she said that Alandria was standoffish when she first entered the villa. And Alandria says, yeah, because I didn't know y'all. Alandria says, I was nice, but I'm not about to be besties with girls who are essentially strangers. She did not know y'all. And on top of that, she just got dumped, which in my opinion is 1000% understandable. Like, girl, if we don't know each other, I'll be nice. Hey, how you doing? I like your dress. I like your hair. But we're not about to be best friends, girl. I don't know you. So Coco, for you to go on a podcast and talk like that is crazy. Then the ladies have a little back and forth because apparently when Coco was on a podcast, she said that Alandria was acting like Taylor was my man, my man, my man. Okay, and I saw that clip too. And I just have to say, first of all, Coco's tone in this exchange for me, she was a bit too rah-rah. She was a bit too rah-rah. I would have had to tell her, okay, bring it on down before I blow up on your ass. Comment down below if you know where that's from. But essentially, Coco says that on the podcast, her intention was never to offend Alandria, but she thought that Alandria and Taylor were way more locked in than she realized because of how Alandria made it seem. And Alandria says that she wishes that Coco spoke on what she actually saw in the villa as opposed to what the viewers saw, because apparently when everyone left the villa, they scroll social media and they just added on to that narrative that they saw was most popular at the moment. And Coco swears up and down that she wasn't being shady. Coco, let's cut the shit. You know exactly what the fuck is shady and what's not. We not about to do, oh, I didn't know that was shady. Girl, we know when we shading somebody. We know when we are shading somebody. Don't let no one tell you that they didn't know they were being shady. They're lying to your face. So they're being shady to you and they think you stupid. Okay, so Shelley points out that there was a screenshot of Coco liking shady comments about her and Alandria. And I honestly think that the reason why Coco is going so hard right now and trying to make it seem like she wasn't shading Alandria and Shelley is because she sees all of the opportunities that they're getting. She sees that they're booked and busy. And I know that Coco been kicking herself in the ass because had she played her cards right, she could have been a third in that little group. Because remember at whatever episode Coco was on, the last episode she was on, and they all had on that shade of green. Can you imagine how the three of them would eat? Little Charlie's Angels. Coco, you fumbled. But anyway, I 100% agree with Alandria. If you disrespect me in public, don't send me a DM, because Coco said, hey, I reached out to you. And Alandria says, yeah, I saw it and I wasn't effing with it. And Nick was like, yeah, like that's my girl. But I agree with Alandria. If you're going to go on a podcast and talk shit, you don't need to send me a DM. Let's talk about it here on this public platform like you was talking shit about me, all right? Then Shelley mentions people leaving the villa, doing podcasts, and feeding into the narrative that her and Alandria were mean girls, which we already established over here. They were not. They were not, okay? A Black woman can keep her composure and comfort someone all season. And when she finally tells that someone about themselves, now they're the mean girls. Not only are they the mean girls, but when they finally get rah-rah back on your ass, that's the real them, not the composed girl. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Y'all not about to piss me off again. Y'all are not. I'm not going to let you do it. I'm not going to let you do it. Even when Amaya spoke to Shelley crazy, Shelley still handled her with kindness when honestly, Shelley could have cursed her ass the out, because that's what she deserved. And honestly, Amaya did grow on me throughout the season, but baby, being at this reunion and seeing who she is besties with, oh girl, that tells me everything I need to know. Bye. So next we briefly touch on Kzak switching up and being all about Amaya once he found out that she was America's favorite. And Kzak apologizes, but he claims that him showing more effort had absolutely nothing to do with that. Do we need to spend more time on this lie? No. Moving on. So Bryan calls Kzak out for claiming that he only played it safe with Amaya for the money. Okay. And again, like I said in previous reviews, between Kzak and Bryan, because that's who Amaya had to choose, Bryan was obviously the better choice. She had to pick someone. She had to pick someone. Bryan was obviously the better choice between the two because he stood up for her during the challenge, all right? Were they really cute together? Yeah. Was Bryan nice to Amaya? Yeah. But were they giving that they were this couple who were in love for real, for real? No, not at all. And like I said at the beginning of this video, it appears that they might not even be together anymore. So it is what it is. But Bryan says that Kzak was actually the one who was planning and plotting. He also says that Kzak didn't even want to pull anyone for chats. All he wanted to do was chill with the bros. And we actually saw that. We actually saw that, and Amaya had called him out for it, right? So Amaya agrees that Kzak would only speak to people when the cameras were on. And all he could say to that was okay. And child, he fell asleep at the end of the reunion. Well, before the end of the reunion. Kzak clearly only showed up so that he wouldn't get fined. He don't care about this. He didn't care about anyone there, right? So we learned that although Jaden and Austin left there together, it appears that Austin decided to do his own thing when they left the villa, and all Jaden wanted him to do was to tell her beforehand so that she wouldn't be embarrassed and look dumb, but apparently Austin didn't do that. Jaden tells Austin, the ship has sailed with me, and Austin was like, oh, like he... Austin was an asshole. He was like, oh, like, girl, I don't give a damn. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Haven't you picked up on that yet? So next we see a clip of Huda being a pussy during the Stand on Business challenge. Now, I didn't call her that. Her bestie Amaya called her that, and I just agree. Okay, so they show the clip of her revealing that she authored the mean letter about Grayson and Pepe, and she didn't say anything when everyone asked during the challenge. And Huda says that she apologizes for the way that it came off, but she didn't mean for it to hurt that bad. So she only wanted to hurt your feelings a little bit. She only wanted you to cry just a little bit, Grayson, not a lot of it, okay? And then Huda starts doing what she always does when her feet are put to the fire. She turns to Grayson and she's like, Grayson, I love you. I love you so much. You're such a queen. You're so beautiful. You are so amazing. I just love you, girl. You're my sister. You know that. You're my sister, girl. Anyway, next we get into this conversation about Huda bringing Chris back for both her and Shelley. So Huda says that she didn't find a connection in Casa. She spoke to Chris about it. She spoke to Shelley about it, and she brought him back. That's what she said happened, and that's what happened. So Shelley reiterates that when it was proposed to her, she was not enthusiastic about it, as we saw, but she said, okay, sure. Shelley says Huda told her that it was for her, and yeah, maybe I'll talk to Chris because he's there, so why not? But I'm doing this for you. So they show us the unseen footage of the chat, and what I got from the chat was that Huda told Shelley that she was interested in speaking to Chris and she was going to bring him back so they can both get to know him, but it was mainly for Shelley, okay? That is what Huda kept saying. So it was mainly for Shelley, but if she brings him back, he's in the villa, so yeah, why wouldn't I have a couple of chats with him as well? So did Huda tell Shelley that she was interested in Chris before bringing him back? Yes, she did. But did she also frame this proposition to be something that she was doing mainly for Shelley? Yes, she did. And you can see that Shelley didn't look like she really wanted to do it. She was like, okay, I think it's a good idea. I think it would work. And Huda was like, yeah, great. I love you so much. I'm so excited for you. I'm so happy for you. I love you so much. I'm so excited for this. I wish that in that moment, Shelley was more stern and spoke up for what she really wanted and didn't want. But based off of this conversation that we saw a clip of, Huda did say that she wanted to pursue Chris too, but Shelley says, hold on a second, because that wasn't the entire chain of events. They had multiple conversations about it. And Shelley says that Huda actually told her, even if you told me not to bring Chris back, I would have brought him back anyway, because you my girl, and I know what my girl wants, and I love you, and blah, blah, all that fake shit she be doing all the time. So you would have brought him back anyway, right? So you weren't really doing it for Shelley. And this is Shelley's point. You were never doing it for me. You just kept saying you were, because if you were doing it for me for real and I told you no, why would you bring him anyway? Why would you bring him anyway if you're doing it for me, okay? And that's why Huda was so mad about that damn pancake, about Shelley getting 2 pancakes and a flower and you only got 1. Why didn't y'all ask about that at the reunion? Maybe they did, maybe they edited it out. Why didn't we see that conversation? Yeah, okay. And when Shelley asks Huda if she remembers herself saying that, Huda says that she can't remember saying that. Anyway, then Huda pretty much tells Shelley that that's the past. Like, girl, that was a month ago, all right? You're in a new relationship. You need to focus on that. Oh, bitch. Oh, bitch. You think that because she's calling you out at a reunion that she's not focused on her relationship? Her relationship? Okay, that's what you think? Huda is just trying to shut Shelley up from calling her out, right? So next we see that despite Iris and Pepe ending up together shortly after Hannah left, Hannah and Iris have talked everything through and they're so cool and they love each other. And Hannah says that both Iris and Pepe deserve the beautiful relationship that they have, and she's not holding any grudges because she's realistic about how quickly things change in an experience like this. And I feel like Hannah had a good attitude about everything, all right? So next we see Andreina agreeing that her and Bryan's conversations were in fact boring and they had nothing to talk about. She says that she was just upset about him standing behind Jaden because she had no idea that he was even into her. Bryan says that he didn't have time to tell Andreina that was the plan. Andreina says that he had plenty of time to tell her. Moving on, we don't care. So next, they show the whole Charlie, Hannah, Pepe fiasco. And Charlie says that it sucked to be separated by America and then dumped by his fellow islanders. And Hannah says the reason why she cried so much was out of guilt because she felt like Charlie was sent home because of what she did with Pepe. Yeah, girl, that's exactly why he was sent home. And of course, you know, Pepe, he gonna swoop in whenever he sees a blonde in distress, honey. But Charlie says that Amaya's vote to kick him off is what hurt the most because he thought that they had a real connection in friendship. And he says that he felt like it was the easy vote and Taylor is the one who should have went home instead because it's obvious now that he wasn't even into Alandria. And I 100% agree with that, okay? But this conversation does end with Hannah letting it be known that there's no chance of her and Charlie ever connecting intimately again. Child, so next they show us the deliberation that the ladies had the night that they sent Hannah home. And it's very obvious that Shelley was studying her book of Aceonometry, okay? Because she sounded just like Ace describing why they sent Jeremiah home. So she said that Hannah automatically connects to everyone and she gets with them immediately. And that's not what this experience is about. So she said that it would be better to keep people who are more serious about exploring and finding connections as opposed to people locking in immediately. And with that, I feel the same way. Who are y'all to decide how soon someone is allowed to connect with someone, right? And like I said before, this is my first season of Love Island. So I will say, because I told y'all at the finale review that I did go back and I started watching season 6. Now, I didn't finish. But I got to see what y'all were saying in the comments about the difference in the season. This cast was definitely hyper aware of the game, of the strategy part. And in season 6, from what I saw, things just flowed naturally, right? We didn't see people talking about strategy, or maybe the cast was just better at hiding that awareness. But for me, season 6 definitely gave a more authentic feel. I felt like I was just watching a bunch of college kids falling in love. That's what it gave, right? So anyway, just wanted to fill y'all in because I know I told y'all that I started season 6. I didn't finish it though. So back to the little deliberation. So all of the ladies did agree that Amaya shouldn't go home because she was actually trying really hard to make connections and she was putting her best foot forward. Clearly, all of the girls really liked Amaya at this point. So child, Shelley had them count to 10 and all 4 ladies said the same name of the person to dump. They all collectively said Hannah. And I said, damn. And Hannah starts crying on stage and I was like, girl, why are you crying? But she does say that it hurt, but she now understands after seeing the conversation around it because she was left wondering the entire time what she did wrong or what she could have done differently. So I guess they were tears of closure, right? But we do see Hannah thanking everyone for the experience and being so kind to her, and she's happy for all of the couples that formed, even if it was off of the back of her being heartbroken and being sent home. So next we see Belle Dashe, and she says that life after the villa was crazy. The love from the fans was strong, but the backlash was strong as well. And she says that she's very happy for Nick Alandria, and she thinks that they make a beautiful couple. Bella also says that she'll always hold a huge amount of love for Huda because she was there for her when no one else was. But she's sad to say that this is the first time that they have seen each other. Girl, what? No. Oh, that's fake. So Huda was like, yeah, I know, we're just so busy. And Chris was looking at Huda like, girl, now I'm sure that Huda is hella booked and hella busy, but Chris's facial expressions had me cracking up. He was just looking at her like, girl, shut up. So next, Jeremiah comes out, okay? And now we get a highlight reel of him and Huda's toxic ass relationship. In that montage, we also get a clip of Pancake Gate. So Jeremiah admits that he did mess up the pancake, but it was only after that incident that he realized how Huda was trying to dangle Taylor making the pancake in front of him to make him jealous. She was trying to triangulate, you guys, okay? That's what made him start paying closer attention to the way that she moves. And to that, Huda says, those are things that I'm working on and I'm addressing in my life right now, and I'm on my way to being a better person. So like, Huda's answer to everything is so PR. It's like, girl, like, I'm healed. Like, I'm not that person anymore. let's talk about something else. Like, that's what it's giving. So Jeremiah talks about the ladies looking at him as a love bomber, and he brings up an example of Huda twisting his words about them living together. Remember when they went on that date and he did not say, yeah, I want to move in with you and we live here? And then she went to the girls and said, oh girl, he said he want to move in with me when we leave here, remember? And Jeremiah says that her doing things like that would make him look like a bad guy. So he asks her if she knows the definition of love bombing, and he tells her that it has to include intent and manipulation. He also mentions her telling him, I love you twice within a matter of days, which we all saw. Okay. Jeremiah says that he would always ask Huda if he was doing too much, and she would say no. And at the same time, she would say that he wasn't doing enough. So how could he be love bombing her? This is the question that he's proposing. How could I be love bombing you if I also was not doing enough? Jeremiah's main goal at this reunion was to make sure that everyone knew that by definition, he did not love bomb Huda, okay? And I don't think that he did either. So if you look at both of their behaviors and just look at the actual definition, Jeremiah, in fact, did not love bomb her, and Huda's actions actually align more with the true definition of love bombing, okay? But Jeremiah isn't done. He then turns to Ace and he's like, does that make sense to you? Like, do you get it, child? I was cracking up. So Ace says that Jeremiah actually told the guys that if they just tell their girls that they love them when a new bombshell comes in, their girl will never leave them. And Jeremiah says, yeah, I told you that as a joke. Like, why are you trying to villainize my joke? He does admit that maybe he liked Huda too much too fast. Same thing with Andreina. He says, look, I did too much, but I didn't love bomb anyone. Jeremiah has been reading these think pieces on X and Threads, okay? Y'all are not about to call this man a love bomber. He says, I know the definition. I know what I'm talking about. Y'all will not have me leave this reunion being called a love bomber, okay? So Ace claims that he had no ill intent towards Jeremiah, but Jeremiah says, yeah, but you called me a scammer. You called me a scammer, and then you villainized me when I was just trying my best to deal with a toxic relationship. Ace says that Jeremiah would be the main one talking about Instagram followers and asking the guys who they think will have the most followers by the end of this experience, and it just rubbed him the wrong way. But Jeremiah says that it was never about clout or money, and even when he said that to Huda, remember when he's like, oh, if we win this thing, he said that as a joke as well. Now, Jeremiah, everything can't be a joke now. Everything cannot be a joke. And if you were making multiple jokes like the one that we saw you make with Huda, then I can understand why the guys would think that you were there for clout in addition to the conversations that you had with them. Now, does that equate to you love bombing Huda? No. Does that mean that you didn't really have strong feelings for Huda? No, I think that you did, but I also think that you were definitely focused on winning and very conscious of the growth that you could possibly have from doing this show. But like I've been saying, and like I say for all shows, not just Love Island, you are not signing up for a reality show in 2025, 2024, 2023, 2022, where your intent is not to gain popularity. I don't care how pure and sweet y'all think that some of these people are on these shows. You are not signing up to do a reality TV show hoping that you don't get popular from it. Where they do that at? That doesn't even make any sense, okay? I feel like everyone obviously wanted to grow their followers and be booked and busy from this experience. Maybe Jeremiah was just the only dumbass to be vocal about it, all right? So when they ask Taylor and Nick what their thoughts are on Jeremiah being a love bomber, Nick makes a joke and he says, I just agree with whatever Ace says. And honestly, that did make me crack up until I saw that they didn't follow up and have him actually answer the question. I was like, what is that? So he's not going to answer the question? So Andy then asks them about Jeremiah sinking his teeth into Andreina and telling the other guys not to speak to her. Taylor clarifies a comment that he made on a podcast, and he says that Jeremiah did tell them that he's going to talk to Andreina all day so that no one else can speak to her. So pretty much he was trying to tie up all her time, which is pretty much what we saw on the show. Jeremiah and Andreina did spend a lot of time together, but Pepe agrees that it was just a joke, and all of the guys knew that if they wanted to pull her for a chat, they could pull her for a chat whenever. Here's the thing. Y'all are not about to get me to believe that Jeremiah was the only one in this villa making jokes or speaking about plotting and strategy on any of these ladies. We got Pepe, we got damn Taylor, Ace, Nick, Chris, Mr. I don't need to be here, I could be playing ball, Bryan, please. Please. It's just giving that Jeremiah's jokes are now being used to justify sending him home or labeling him as a love bomber so that they don't look like they sent him home out of pure jealousy and feeling threatened, okay? So then they ask Austin what he thinks, and he's just like, what do I think? I don't know. Listen, I don't know what Austin did before he came here. I don't know what extracurricular activities he got into before he came to this reunion, but every single time they asked this man a question, it took him like 10 minutes to answer, and it got very annoying. It was funny the first time, but after the second time, I'm like, okay, get it together. But he eventually says that he doesn't think that Jeremiah love bombed Huda at all, and he says that it was very possible to just like someone too much and not handle it the right way, but he took all of Jeremiah's comments as a joke. But child, I guess that Jeremiah and Austin were kikiing a bit too much on the other side of the stage for Ace's liking, because out of nowhere, Ace is like, well, Austin, why did you pick to send Jeremiah home during that challenge? And I was like, whoa, shout out to Tammy Talk. So Austin is like, what are you talking about? It was just a joke. It was during a challenge. One of the questions was, who would you send home? And I guess, oh my God, Austin picked Jeremiah and like shot him with a cannon or something like that. Austin says it's just jokes. And Ace says, well, people could get sent home over jokes. So Austin, why did you pick him? And I said, hold on a second, king of deflection, because what the hell that got to do with what we talking about right now? Like, what are we talking about? I think in asking this question, Ace was trying to shift the conversation from them asking him why he voted to send Jeremiah home for real, not in a challenge, for real, right? And I also feel like Ace is trying to blow this up to be something bigger than what it is. The same thing that he's been doing with Jeremiah's jokes. I think that he's grasping at straws and trying to justify his actions towards Jeremiah because he doesn't want to be seen as jealous, right? He doesn't want that label on him. But Ace insists that Austin truly feels a way towards Jeremiah, and they're both like, yo, what are you talking about? We're bros. It's just jokes. But Austin does acknowledge that there are two different guy squads, so there's some sort of divide, but there's no actual beef. And at the end of the day, they're one big family. Some people just like some family members more than others. But I agree with the people who are backstage. I don't think that Austin and Ace like each other at all. And I don't think that Ace likes Jeremiah at all right? So we see that Nick wants to address Jeremiah's dumping specifically because what wasn't shown was him saying that if Andreina and Jeremiah have even a 5% chance of making it, then he wants to keep them in the villa and Austin should be the one who's removed. But he does say that he didn't vote them out to be an scapegoat, and that totally flies over Nick's head when everyone starts laughing. It's either he doesn't realize that he said it that way or he just learned that the word is not a scapegoat, right? But they then show us the deliberation that the boys had when sending Jeremiah home. And y'all already know that I was sad for this because I've been wanting to see it. So we see the guys say that they don't want to send Austin home because he hasn't had a fair chance and his type hasn't entered the villa yet. What's your type, Austin? Let us know. And even if he isn't with his type, they said that he would still try with everyone he was paired up with. So we see Taylor saying that Jeremiah explored with Iris for one day, and then as soon as Andreina came in, he went straight for her. So he's not getting the full experience. Who the hell are you to decide that, Taylor? But Nick breaks it down and he says, look, even if it's the same cycle being repeated, Jeremiah still has a connection and Austin doesn't. And he doesn't want to write off the potential of Jeremiah and Andreina's relationship just because of his experience with Huda. Smart thinking, Nick. Nick really held it down for Jeremiah and he kept it logical. And Jeremiah thanks Nick after he sees this clip and he says that it definitely makes him feel better about still being cool with Nick after the experience, all right? So next they address the perception of Ace being the ringleader and making a diss track about the situation. And child, Ace's voice was shaking. He was very defensive. He looked upset when answering. It was giving me flashbacks of the Standing on Business challenge, but Ace says that he just happens to be the most vocal in the group, but everyone gave their input as well. It's just that maybe his opinions were more highlighted. And I can see that happening because honestly, the clip that they just showed with Nick, I was like, okay, Nick got a brain. Okay. I was like, all right, look at Nick. So I can see everyone being vocal and maybe them just editing those clips out, right? And it appearing that Ace is the ringleader. But Ace did seem to be the one who was in everybody's business. And Charlie also says that he doesn't know if he would call Ace a ringleader per se, but Ace was definitely going around asking everyone questions, trying to find out who all of the guys would be talking to for the day while not being forthcoming with his plans for the day, okay? And Charlie says that when he noticed this, he started keeping his cards closer to his chest. So Jeremiah says that from his experience, Ace was the ringleader and he was the main antagonist in his story, and I can totally understand why Jeremiah feels that way. Ace says, Jeremiah, you're a grown man. How can I ringlead other grown men? It's definitely possible to be a ringleader amongst other adults. We see it all the time. And Ace is pretty much just trying to shake off this title of him being a ringleader. And he's like, look, I was not the only person responsible for sending Jeremiah home, which is 100% true. It was a group decision. Child, so then they ask Austin what he would call Ace, and Ace jumps in and he says, well, he would call me a little ringleader. That's what he called me. And Austin was like, I don't think I used that adjective. I think that you added that in yourself, baby. I was cracking up. I was cracking up when he said that. But Ace does say that he regrets sending Jeremiah home, and he's man enough to admit it. And he says that he does feel like Austin should have went home instead that night. And Jeremiah thanks him for finally admitting that, all right? So now they show us the official votes from both of those island dumpings, and both Jeremiah and Hannah were dead last in America's poll. So those two would have been sent home regardless, all right? So child, next Ace calls out Amaya for an interview that she did, and Amaya looks completely confused when Ace said her name. She's like, what? Like, I thought we already spoke about that. But Ace is like, nah, we're going to talk about it here too. We're going to talk about it here too. So apparently Amaya was clowning Ace's height when she was on a podcast. And Ace says that that's wrong when she's supposed to be someone who is an advocate against bullying. But Amaya says that if she knew that the podcast was going to chop and screw the clip, she would have never tolerated it or accepted it. And she says that her team was actually trying to get the video taken down, which Ace was aware of. But Ace lets her know, when y'all say things in public, but then you want to apologize in private, when there's still a particular narrative going on, it's not right. And I do agree with that. But honestly, Ace, from the way that you and Amaya were in the villa, and the way that you ran down those rules after you did the recoupling with her, did y'all make up? Like, how did that go? Because I'm not sure why you would expect to leave the villa or leave this experience and Amaya just sing your praises. I don't know why you would expect that. So next, they show us the highlight reel of Huda's toxicity, and she's just laughing about it the entire time. She thinks it's the funniest thing. And child, after the clip finished, Andy was like, well, I was going to ask you how you felt about it, but clearly you're amused with yourself. You're just laughing. And Huda was like, yeah, I've just done so much work and so much self-reflection on this. So now I can look back at it and laugh. So you can look back and laugh at all the people you hurt. That's the self-reflection that you've done. You look back at yourself hurting people, verbally abusing people, and it's funny. And I said, oh, well, what type of healing is that? Because I don't want it. I want no parts of that type of healing. I really don't. Okay. So Huda continues and she says, you know, I've done so much work and self-reflection, and obviously I would handle things differently now. And I was just unapologetically being myself. Listen, are people capable of learning and growing? Yes. People are capable, but I was with Andy when he said, so you did a month of self-reflection and now you're a different person, baby. Baby, the way I started cracking up and everyone else was cracking up, child. But I'm like, Andy, of course she's changed in a month. Her stance seemed to believe that she completely changed in a matter of 2 to 3 days. Come on, Andy, catch up. Of course she's fully evolved in 1 month. You silly goose. So when he asks her to elaborate on what she's not proud of, she says, oh my God, I'm not proud of cursing at everyone and calling them names. And that was it. That's all she wasn't proud of. Okay, so what did y'all show all of those clips for? Well, why did y'all show all those clips? Because we didn't see a conversation about it. Maybe a conversation was had, but we didn't get to see it. Y'all showed her terrorizing the villa, but we don't see a conversation about it in depth. Anyway, then Andy says to Huda, look, as a viewer, I didn't really see where you were bullied, right? Because it seems like you always had an ongoing sisterhood with these ladies. So please enlighten me. What's the bullying that I missed? I said exactly. But please let us know. And this girl says that there were clips that she saw after she left the villa that made her feel bullied. So when she came out of the villa, she saw her fan base championing her foolishness and twisting shit. And that's when she decided, hey, I've been bullied, okay? And she uses the example of when the girls were sitting around and talking about Huda damn near charging at Iris the day before. Remember when Iris came back from her date with Jeremiah and Huda ran up on her and had a conversation with her and was like, okay, what happened on the date? Remember that? And everyone was afraid for Iris. Okay, so that's what they were talking about. And Huda felt like they were talking about her when she was in the gym. So she started posing and stuff. We all remember the scene. And then they all just started laughing like, why is she looking over here? And Amaya says, yeah, that was really mean. Says the girl who was talking crazy to Shelley because she had misplaced anger. I see why y'all are friends, Amaya. It's making sense, all right? Shelley says that wasn't a mean girl situation because they were all there for her and still showed her love, but they never bullied her. And Huda says, okay, well, maybe bullying wasn't the proper word to use, but I just want to move on from it. I'm just ready to move on. Yeah, girl, because no one bullied you, right? If you had actual examples of you being bullied, baby, y'all would still be filming the reunion. You can't give examples because you were just trying to run with the narrative. So trying to label Shelley and Alandria as bullies and as mean girls would help you out because you knew that you acted a whole fool this season. I always say this, everyone does not have to like everyone. Everyone is not gonna like you. Everyone is not gonna talk to you. If someone doesn't speak to you, is that them bullying you? Is that them isolating you? If someone feels like you have been playing the victim over and over and over again, and the fourth time they don't want to hear you sit in your self-victimhood shit, is that bullying? Is that them isolating you? Or is that them setting boundaries and needing space because you've been consuming everyone's energy? What is it? So Shelley says that she'd also like to move on, and she apologizes to Huda if she did feel like she was bullied. So even after Huda says that bullying was the wrong term, Shelley still turns around and apologizes to Huda. Shelley is such a class act. She really is. The fact that she still apologized, child. So listen, we see Ariana actually bring up Alandria, and she says, look, when I was there day to day, I saw that she was there for you, Huda. So why did you feel that she wasn't someone that you can speak to? Why did you feel isolated? And Huda starts this off by, look, I love this bitch down. Okay, like that's my bitch. I love her to death. I love her so much. Let me tell y'all something. Tell that girl to stop saying I love you. Tell her to stop saying I love. Don't let her tell you I love you, child. It's manipulative. She does it with the guys and she does it with the girls. We know that she doesn't mean it. She says it to disarm you. That's why she uses it, okay? But Huda says that this was after the Stand on Business challenge. She just felt like she didn't have anyone to talk to, but she says that her and Alandria have spoken and they've moved on from it. I will say, whoever Huda hired to prep her for this reunion definitely told her, look, girl, just say you've grown. Say everything is fine. Say you're changed and you're evolved. Apologize and just keep it moving, because that has been her script for this entire reunion, okay? So child, now Alandria begins to speak about all of the hate that she was getting from Huda's stans. And she says that she reached out to Huda and asked her to address it and speak out against the racism that was coming from her fans, especially since Huda had the biggest following and she felt like it was important for her to address. So when they got to California, Huda says, yeah, girl, I'm going to make a post defending y'all straight to my fans, right? But after a couple of days, the lady saw that Huda never made the post. Then they see her doing interviews and she's saying that she was bullied, but she never put a name on it. And we all know that she did that on purpose because she already knew what the narrative was when she got out the villa. That's how she even realized she was bullied. Remember, she didn't know she was bullied until she got out the villa and she looked in her phone. So all of her fans told her that Alandria and Shelley bullied her. So then she went on an interview and she said that she was bullied. She didn't have to say Alandria and Shelley's name. She didn't have to say their name. We all knew who she was implying, right? So even though Alandria and Shelley were there for her, she came out the villa, saw the narrative, and she fed the narrative. Alandria says that that really messed with her mentally because she felt like, damn, girl, you can't even call out racism. You made us these promises, and as soon as we get into the real world, you switch up. And that's why both Shelley and Alandria chose to unfollow her, and they haven't spoken since. Do you think that had Huda came to Alandria and Shelley and said, hey girl, look at these posts that your fans are making about me, about my people, do you think for 1 second that Alandria and Shelley would not have made a post immediately telling their fans, chill out, cut the racism? Do you think that? Anyway, Huda says that she told Alandria that she didn't want them to get any hate. And we're like, yeah, girl, you told Alandria you needed to tell your fans. That's what they asked you to do. Where is that? I don't care. I'm not scared. You know, I'm just unapologetically me. Where is the girl with that attitude when it comes to denouncing racism against your sisters, against the girls who you love? I love you so much.
Girl, I love you so much.
So anyway, Huda claims that she didn't see all of the hate that Alandria was getting, and she wished that they said something so that she could clarify it to her fans that she really loves them. Like I said before, you saw the Chris hate, but you didn't see the Alandria hate. That is just extremely hard for me to believe. So Shelley says even when they were in the Airbnb just discussing everything, not once did Huda say that she felt bullied by her, right? Not once did she say that. Actually, Huda was saying, I missed y'all so much. I can't wait for y'all to meet my daughter, stuff like that. So then to go on a podcast and then say you were bullied, especially when you already knew how much hate they were getting, was absolutely dangerous. And it really was. You had a whole publication, BuzzFeed, talking about giving Shelley a knuckle sandwich. So Huda says that she should have addressed Shelley directly, and she was definitely in her feelings because they had just left the villa and so much was going on. But she says that Shelley should not be getting any type of hatred, even if people think that they're doing it in support of her, because Shelley is a good person. Shelley appreciates the apology, but she says it's confusing because Huda is the type to apologize 1 minute and then we'll see her on a podcast talking shit saying she's just unapologetically herself, okay? But when she's back with them, she's on her, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So Ariana asks Huda straight up, why did you not make the post that Alandria asked you to make? And Huda says she was just dealing with so much. She didn't know what to say and she wanted to address more than one thing, not only that. And I love that Alandria jumps in and she says, I really wished that you would have prioritized that moment to address the racism and bullying towards Shelley and I by just putting up a simple post because it really hurt. And Huda says that she was getting racial hate too. And I do believe that. I definitely believe that. But Huda, were the posts comparable to putting Alandria's face on George Floyd? Was it that type of post? Because I feel that we would have seen it because I definitely saw the George Floyd one. And I also feel that in that conversation about bullying, that is something that you would have definitely asked Alandria and Shelley. You would have showed it to them and you would have asked them to make a statement to tell their fans to stop making racist comments as well. And I'm sure that they would have been more than happy to do so because those girls have been nothing but graceful, forgiving, and kind to you. So we know they would have done it. Don't get in my comments and say, you don't know that. They would have done it. The fact that you all had a conversation about bullying and racism, and it was Shelley and Alandria who asked you to speak to your fans, just shows the magnitude of the amount of hate and racism that they were getting. But the comments were so disgusting. Those memes were so disgusting. We see both Ariana and Andy disheartened. Alandria is tearing up and she tells Huda that she's really hurt. She hopes that she's grown from the experience, but she's really hurt because she did not speak up for both her and Shelley. So Huda apologizes and she says that she didn't make the posts, but she doesn't want any hate or bullying. And she says that racism is wrong and she doesn't agree with it, okay? So Shelley says that this trust is completely broken and she wishes Huda well from afar, but she would not be able to ever trust her as a friend again. And Alandria says that she loves Huda, but her not putting up that post was definitely the turning point in their relationship. Huda wishes them the best and she says that she loves them and she doesn't want anyone to receive any hate, all right? So next we get the full heart rate challenge clip. And like I said in my review, child, Ace was definitely enjoying that heart rate challenge, okay? And Shelley did not have enough energy for Ace, in my opinion. So in the clip, we see Huda licking Ace's pee-pee, okay? She was dry humping him, she was grinding on him, and Ace was loving every minute of it. He was palming her booty, he was smiling, licking his lips, he was loving it. Child, then Huda turns around and she puts her butt in Ace's face, starts twerking on him, and he's grabbing ass, and we see Shelley saying, whoa, this ain't no challenge, all right? So after the clip plays, Huda says that she does think that she went too far and she's sorry that she offended anyone, but it was consensual. And when Andy asks Shelley if she still feels justified in her reaction, Shelley says, yes, she does. She does. So remember, the reason why Shelley was upset was because she felt that Huda went too far and she did not show the respect that all of the ladies had been showing her with Jeremiah and maintaining the sisterhood, okay? So Shelley says that's what it boils down to, the sisterhood. And as far as she knew, Huda had no interest in Ace. So for her to go that far when they're supposed to be friends and you never mentioned having any interest in Ace, yeah, that was an issue. So Taylor says that a boundary was crossed and Iris says that she just thinks that boundaries should have been discussed beforehand. So child, when Andy asks Huda how she would have reacted had Shelley performed that same little act on Jeremiah when they were a couple, Huda responds and she says, well, you know, she was doing her thing with Chris and I was cheering them on. Girl, that was not the question and you know it. You know that was not the question. You were asked about Jeremiah. You know what you would have done. Everyone there knows what you would have done. Production knows what you would have done, girl. And Shelley says, I didn't think that I had to tell my friend, hey girl, please don't lick my man's, but I guess I had to. Yeah, dealing with Huda, you're going to have to. You're going to have to let it be known, all right? So, child, the last clip we see is Alandria in her confessional where we hear someone screaming in the background and everyone thought that it was Sierra when she was getting dragged out the villa, okay? But it was actually Huda and Iris in the bathroom and they were singing to each other. And that is the end of Love Island USA Season 7, baby. I am tired. Thank you all so much for rocking out with me. It's been a journey. It's been quite some time. Tell me all your thoughts about the season. Keep it cute in the comments, baby. And I cannot wait to see you. Oh, hold on. Before you leave, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell. Truly, thank you all so much for being with me this season. Y'all know it's my first time. But y'all have made it so much fun. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.